The Township Board to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Meltzer is trapped out in Salt Lake City because she can't get a plane flight out. So she won't be home until maybe tomorrow. So we need a motion to appoint a temporary clerk.
So, Mr. Cannon, I make a motion to appoint your deputy, Mr. O'Leary, as the secretary for the meeting, but non-voting.
Correct. Thank
I
you.
support.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please. Mr. O'Leary?
That's Mr. Gillingham,
Yes.
Ms. Patton,
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak,
Yes.
Mr. Keys,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
and Mr. Kress.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. If you have public comments that you wish to make, I see people are bringing the cars to the front right now. Bring them to the front. You'll have an opportunity at the end of the meeting to give us your thoughts on any topic. And with that, we will take an approval of the agenda.
Did you want to do roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Ms. Matuzak,
Present.
Mr. Keys. Here. Ms. Patton,
Here.
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Kress,
Present.
Mr. Gillingham,
There.
and Mrs. Meltzer is absent.
I knew we made the right call with you, Dan.
Exactly.
Contributed.
Now, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Thank you. Are there any additions, Mr. O'Leary?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who was the support on that?
Mr. Keys? Roll call, please.
Ms. Matuzak,
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Ms. Patton,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Kress,
Yes.
and Mr. Gillingham.
Yes.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Keys,
Yes.
Ms. Patton,
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Kress,
Yes.
Mr. Gillingham.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 2, the annual recognition of August 7th as the National Purple Heart Day.
Board, on April 20th, 2015, the Clinton Township Board of Trustees affirmed the Charter Township of Clinton's status as a Purple Heart Township and resolved to annually recognize August 7th as National Purple Heart Day. It is right for Clinton Township residents to pay tribute to those who have valiantly defended the freedoms we hold dear. We owe a debt of gratitude to those who fought and bore hardships in distant battlefields, in faraway lands, and on the home front. We honor the courage, dedication, and selfishness of our military heroes, and it is our pleasure to recognize Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, as National Purple Hearts Day.
And as this board, this community has always recognized this day and this event, the floor is open for a motion.
I make a motion for the annual recognition of August 7th as National Purple Heart Day.
Support.
Supported Mrs. Matuzak. Roll call, please.
Ms. Patton,
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak,
Yes.
Mr. Keys,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Kress,
Yes.
Mr. Gillingham.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 3, request approval for security cameras at Heritage Estates.
Heritage Estates. Members of the board, at the July 9th, 2024 Heritage Estates Committee meeting, the committee reviewed and discussed 3 quotes that were submitted to Formidable Property Management for security cameras at the Heritage Estates. The quotes were compared by the Heritage Estates Committee to determine the lowest qualified bidder. It was determined that Interstate Security, Inc. of Shelby Township provided the low quote in the amount of $8,660. Interstate Security was also the only contractor to include quoting the add-on equipment as requested. Adding a 16-port NVR, mailroom camera, and backup battery totaled an additional $4,740. A copy of the quote tabulation is attached. They were all given the same opportunity as you see in the next paragraph of that memo. Based on the quotes submitted and conditions noted above, we recommended that the Heritage Estates security camera project be awarded to Interstate Security, Inc. in the amount of $13,400. This will require a budget amendment to capital outlay in the Senior Housing Fund. It is requested that the board move to award the bid as presented and amend the budget as requested.
So moved
Support with the budget amendment.
with the budget amendment.
Are there comments or questions to the board? Community? Roll call, please.
Trustee Matuzak?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Trustee Gillihan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Well, he's been trustee.
He's getting,
He's had a lot of different jobs here.
Not trying to demote you.
he's getting close on the pronunciation too.
Item 4, request approval for painting bid contract for Heritage Estates.
Dear members of the board, on July 10th, 2024, the Clinton Township Department of Public Works received a total of 3 sealed bids through Mitten for the painting contract for Heritage Estates. DPS processed the bids that were received to make sure all the required documents were submitted, as well as contacted all the references provided. A tabulation of the bids was completed, and the low bidder is Z Painting and Remodeling of Farmington, Michigan, in the bid amount of $56,850. A copy of the bid tabulation is attached. The project consists of painting the entryway, hallway, library, and stairwells for buildings A, B, C, and D, including wall preparation, door trim, caulking, necessary scraping and sanding, painting the ceilings and walls. Contractor is going to supply the paint, labor, all wall prep, products, supplies, and tools to paint the walls. Based on the bid submitted, we recommend that Heritage Estates painting project be awarded to Z Painting and Remodeling in Farmington, Michigan, in the amount of $56,850. It is requested that the board move to award the bid as presented.
I make a motion for the approval of the painting bid award.
Support.
Can that also be subject to the submittal of the proper insurance bonds and contract?
Yes.
Yes.
That
Thank
too.
you. Comments or questions?
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
just one thing. This had come before the board a couple of months ago, and we recognize it has not gone through the proper bidding process. I'm happy to say we rebid the process, and it points out the importance of doing things in the proper process, because we saved about half the cost with this go-around. So I just want to point out that when we do things in a proper process, we sometimes really benefit from doing that.
Thank you. I agree. Roll call, please.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Trustee Matuzak?
Yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Treasurer Gillihan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'll work on it tomorrow with you, Dan. Item 5, subcommittee membership for Heritage Estates.
Dear fellow board members, I propose the addition of a resident of Heritage Estates to the Heritage Estates Committee with an alternate member to serve in their absence as follows. The term of office shall be the same term as other members, except the initial term being a partial term, to end with the term of the next expiring member. The resident member shall be non-voting. The resident member shall count towards the establishment of a quorum. Applications shall be submitted in writing. The same process as used for other committee appointments shall be followed in that the applicant shall be permitted but not required to appear before the township board prior to the board voting to fill the position. The application shall require information on availability to serve, educational background, work experience, duration of residency at Heritage Estates, and a general statement on their desire to serve. An alternate will also be appointed who shall serve only in the absence of the appointed member with the same powers and duties. The availability of the position will be posted on the township website at Heritage Estates, and all residents will be notified by email by Formidable of the availability of the position. The position itself and any person appointed to it or as an alternate is subject to elimination and removal at any time by the township board.
Thank you. I am against this. I think that people who live there are lucky to live there because they're below market rates. We give them a great place to live, a great community, and We have people in the community who are representative of the township board and the community at large, and so I'm against it, but I'll listen to anyone else who wants to speak.
Well, I'll make a motion for approval.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? The motion dies for lack of support. Move on to the next item, item 6. Request to schedule a public hearing to renew the police and fire special assessment millage for 2024.
Dear members of the board, the Department of Assessing respectfully requests you to schedule a public hearing for renewal of the special assessment of police and fire millages. Please schedule the public hearing for the August 12th, 2024 regular board meeting. The special assessment millage is levied on real property only and will generate the following approximate revenue based upon an ad valorem real property taxable value of $3,720,542,430. Police at 5 mills would be $18,600,000. Fire at 4 mills, $14,882,000 for a total of $33,484,000. In addition, the industrial facility real property has a taxable value of $7.7 million and will generate the following approximate revenue for police at 2.5 mills, $19,000, and fire at 2 mills, $15,000 for a sum total of $34,600. Grand total, police, $18,621,000, fire, $14,897,000 for a total of $33,519,000. The above approximate revenue amounts are subject to the Board of Review, Michigan Tax Tribunal, Michigan Department of Treasury, and State Tax Commission adjustments.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? This is what keeps us safe in our community. And thank you to our public who in the past has passed this millage.
Do we need a motion to have a public hearing? If so,
Correct. The motion is to schedule the public hearing.
I move that we
As
schedule a
presented.
public hearing.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Matuzak,
Yes.
Trustee Patton,
Yes.
Trustee Keys,
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon,
Yes.
Trustee Kress,
Yes.
Treasurer Gilliam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 7, a public hearing for the industrial exemption for Kendall Electric.
Dear honorable board members, the Charter Township of Clinton Economic Development Corporation met on Wednesday, June 12, 2024, to review the above referenced industrial facility exemption certificate request. All requirements have been found to be in order. Please schedule a public hearing pertaining to this request for Monday, July 22nd, which is today. So this was issued several weeks ago. I believe in the last meeting you elected today as your public hearing date.
Correct.
So I think what is appropriate at this time is a motion to open a public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
I move to
I'll make
open
a
the public hearing.
Support.
If you-
Sir,
Silence.
we will hear what you have to say.
Let's go ahead and open it, though, with the vote, and then we'll
Okay.
hear from the public.
Sir?
Good evening. My name is Dean Maxwell, and I'm representing Galoob.
I apologize, sir.
We have to open with a
If you don't mind,
We
let's
need to
vote
vote.
on
We have to vote
opening
on
the public
opening
hearing,
the public
if we could. So that would be Trustee Matuzak,
Yes.
Trustee Patton,
Yes.
Trustee Keys,
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon,
Yes.
Trustee Kress,
Yes.
and Treasurer Gilliam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Sir?
Again, my name is Dean Maxwell, and I'm with Kendall Electric / Galoob, and we have the facility that we're currently adding on to over on 15 in Harper. And so we met, as you stated, with the board earlier, and or later part of last month, and that was approved, so we're here for final approval.
Thank you. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Todd Seibert with Macomb County Planning and Economic Development, and I'm here accompanying Kendall Electric to make their request for a resolution for PA 198. As Dean mentioned, he's here to answer any questions that the council might have.
I'll make a motion to approve.
So I support.
For what term and as requested, or?
As requested, as presented.
Okay.
I still support.
It's a 12-year abatement, I believe, for,
It's a 30,000 square foot facility. It's a new facility. Total cost is just over 2.3 million.
and this is for storage of the pipes, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So they don't weather outside and your business is expanded exponentially here in
Correct.
Clinton Township?
Correct. This
And-
is an additional building on the property that we're developing as we continue to grow.
Ideally, we would like to see more jobs with this, but we understand the nature. This was recommended by the Economic Development Corporation, and I think it's a good move, and we appreciate the investment.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All good? Roll call, please.
Just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. As this is a tax abatement, I'm once again voting no, not anything against your, just in general against tax abatements. It's fine.
Roll call, please.
Technical question. We have a public hearing. We also have a motion to approve. Do we do that during the public hearing, or do we close the public hearing first?
Well, we can, the motion's been made, we can consider it after we allow additional people to comment and then close the public hearing. But the motion is before the floor, so, but you can take additional public comment now. So if anybody else wants to speak to it, well, go ahead.
So,
Any members of the public?
Anyone wish to
going
speak?
once, twice?
Okay.
So first, let's,
Do we need a motion to close?
We
public hearing?
can, you can, at this point in time, I believe it would be in order to move to close the public hearing and to adopt the proposed and recommended period of tax abatement.
Mr. Treasurer, is that your
That's-
motion?
That's my motion.
Ms. Patton, is that your second?
Yes.
Okay. Treasurer Gilliam.
Yes.
Trustee Patton.
Yes.
Trustee Matuzak.
No.
Trustee Keys.
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon.
Yes.
Trustee Kress.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're glad you're here in Clinton Township.
Glad to hear.
Certainly.
Item 8, request for bid award for the sanitary sewer. And I forget what road that's on.
It's a rehab project. Dear board members, on July 11, 2024, the Charter Township of Clinton's Clerk's Office received and processed a total of 5 bids for the above referenced project. Our office checked the tabulation of the bids submitted, and the lower bid is DVM Utilities of Sterling Heights in the bid amount of $787,462.5. A copy of the final bid tabulation is attached. The project consists of the cured-in-place pipe, rehabilitation of 13,000 lineal feet of 10-inch to 24-inch diameter sanitary sewers within Clinton Township. These sewer segments were identified from previous sewer televising and cleaning activities that were found to be critical and high-priority sewer repairs. We determined that these structural deficiencies could be remedied by trenchless CIPP rehabilitation methods. These efforts to maintain and rehabilitate the existing sanitary sewer infrastructure are consistent with the township's sanitary sewer asset management planning initiatives. As a condition of the bid requirement, prospective bidders were required to be pre-qualified for sanitary sewer cleaning and televising and CIPP lining rehabilitation of sanitary sewers. DVM Utilities provided the necessary pre-qualification information to be considered for the bid award. The bid results were reviewed with the Director of Public Services and township personnel. Based upon the bids submitted and the conditions noted above, we recommend the 2024 sanitary sewer rehabilitation by full-length CIPP lining be awarded to DVM Utilities located in Sterling Heights in the amount of $787,462.50.
Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
This, who am I asking? Do I ask Scott or, right?
Mr. Chabot, please come to the podium.
This $787,000, is that the not to exceed amount? It seems like every time we do a bid and it's budgeted for $900,000,
but the bid from the contractor is $787. Somehow it always creeps up closer to our budget amount. Is there any way to make this a not to exceed number? Or is that time after time, contractors are coming to us for more monies for unanticipated costs and that sort of thing? I think we need to rein that in and have them stick by their number. If this is their number, is there some way we can hold them to it?
I just think, I don't pass, it's a board decision, but it's a protocol in the past for any of the water sewer paving projects or other general projects to have a contingency in case there's unforeseen issues that do come up, and it's been normally about 10%. So that would have to be a.
Mr. Dolan?
Mr. Cannon?
Well, hold on, Mr. Dolan, then Mrs. Bednar.
Yeah, this is the likelihood, it's of course possible that you could have some additional requests for compensation on this, but this is a cured in place project where a lot of times we do get some additional claims is where we're actually disturbing soils. If we're putting in a water line or putting in a sewer line. And in part, the problem that we have there is the construction industry in Michigan's got a really strong lobby, and they've passed some statutes that give them protection if conditions are unanticipated, soil conditions are unanticipated. So we can't completely transfer contractually responsibility for soil conditions on projects that involve some excavated soils. So I can't speak directly to this, but we're not going to have the same soil disruption on this type of project as we would if we were just putting in a sanitary sewer, a new sanitary sewer or a water line. I don't know if that helps at all, but.
Is there any kind of additional step we can have where they have to come before the board to get more monies rather than just ask for it?
Well, we did implement some years back a process where they have to come to the board for approval on change orders. I'll let Scott and Mary speak to that, though.
I think that's primarily due to scope changes that, and Mary, I think you might want to speak to that as well, but my understanding that the infancy of that was primarily if there was a scope change that were to occur, those obviously come to the board, but if you want to call it contingencies of items that do happen, mostly if they're due to changes in project conditions, is where that would apply, the contingency value.
If I can speak to that. So to get a history of the policy that Mr. Dolan and Mr. Chabot referenced, when in the past, and this would have been many years ago, I think that policy is probably 15 years old now or more. We would be going over budget on budgeted projects because the budget only had the as-bid project costs approved by the board. There are lots of costs associated with projects from design fees and contract administration fees. So if you turn to the memorandum that's in the board packet that AEW put together, you'll see the almost $908,000 that Mr. Kress is referring to is the total project budget. That includes the as-bid project costs, the design fees, the contract administration fees, and then a 10% contingency. The policy that was enacted about 15 or more years ago was twofold. One was to get 10% contingency for change orders to give the director the okay to be able to approve those change orders, because we can't bring every change order to the board because it might be that the trench is open, and for us to leave it open for 2 weeks and have the contractor not work for 2 weeks, it could be a safety issue, but also could cost the contractor time and money, which in return would cost the township time and money. So that's where that 10% number was set. But change in scope items, unless it was an emergency, would have to come to the board. So That's kind of, so if we have brought back to the board several times change in scopes. For example, later on the agenda today is the Garfield Road emergency repairs that we made because of a sinkhole that we were seeing in Garfield Road. That we made a change in scope, and we did bring that to the board. So that 907 is a number that is with the 10% contingency. When we go over that, we do bring it to the board so that the board knows what's going on.
Okay.
So in a sense, it is a not to exceed in a sense,
Okay.
without coming to the board.
I understand the open trench and the necessity to handle something as it comes, but if it's an anticipated change in monies and that sort of thing, I would feel a lot more comfortable if they came to the board and requested it, even if it is a little inconvenient. It's happened since I've been here. It's happened twice with cameraing the sewers, where we got an unanticipated 25,000 plus bill. The Harrington project, there was a $27,000 plus, addition to something that they bid. So I'm just trying to safeguard us from paying additional monies that weren't anticipated or the contractor failed to put in their bid. And that's the sum total of what I'm saying.
Thank you. Further discussion? We have a motion on the floor?
No, we do not.
So I make a motion to, what am I making a motion? To approve this project
Yes.
as bid?
Yep.
Approve
And I will
approve
support
DVM
that.
Utilities as the vendor at 787.42 or 462.50.
All of those words.
Correct.
With the continuance.
And I support
That is
that.
correct.
The problem is, we have all clay in Clinton Township. We don't have nice sandy soil.
Second page is 907.
So there's a lot of extra things that we have.
With
And-
the contingency.
You don't want to stop the project. You don't want the contractor to leave.
That dollar amount has got to be, you have to correct that.
907, 944.27.
No, this is approving the contract with DVM for 787,462.50.
Correct.
The budget number is the 907,
Got it.
which has already been approved. The budget's been approved for $1 million, but we're showing that it should come in around 907.
Yep. So now we have a motion and a support.
You made the motion. Do I have support? You made the support? Okay. Trustee Matuzak?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Treasurer Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we move on to our planning department. 2.65 acres on Romeo Plank and Clinton River Road for a mausoleum.
So moved.
Support.
Don't you want to let them speak a little bit? Come on up here.
definitely,
Tell
yeah.
us about it. They don't want to talk. It's beautiful. It enhances the community. You have done a great job here in Clinton Township. We welcome everything you do. So I think that's what our board is saying.
Yeah.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
I believe it was Trustee Keys with the motion
Yes.
and Trustee Patton with the support.
Yes.
Trustee Matuzak?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Treasurer Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 10, proposed amendment to the text of codified ordinances of Clinton Township.
Clinton Township Board, this commission has made review and held public hearing on the proposal to amend the text of the codified ordinances of Clinton Township, Part 12, Planning and Zoning Code, to amend sections 1258.05, footnote B, and 1294.13, subsection I believe that is. We hereby make recommendation for approval of the zoning amendment as presented. This action was by vote. Patton, Harris, Kurd, DeBartolomeo, Hubler, Green, Jansen, and Wade were all ayes, and there were no nays. Jansen was excluded.
Excuse me.
Make a motion for
Excused.
approval. It's a standard update, so.
Thank you.
Just
Is there
an
a
update.
second?
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Trustee Matuzak?
Yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Treasurer Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 11, 2024 draft master plan approval.
At your June 3rd, 2024 meeting, the Clinton Township Board formally approved distribution of the 2024 Clinton Township Draft Master Plan as required under the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, Act 33 of 2008. That approval started the required 42-day review period outlined in PA 33. That 42-day review period has expired, and the draft master plan is now ready for Township Board review and approval. Once the Township Board has completed this process, the draft plan will be forwarded to the Planning Commission for the formal public hearing and final approval of the plan. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me, Bruce Thompson.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Board. Dana Duggar, 37852 Suburban, from the very best neighborhood in the township. I have reviewed your plan quite in depth. If you wish to follow me on your copies of the plan, I will try to be very quick. I find the plan to have a lot of very dated information. If you look at page 13 and you look at the verbiage there, it goes back to quoting numbers from as far back as 2010. Needs a lot of update. Same way with page 15 in the verbiage. There's a lot of very dated and obsolete material. If you want to just make notes and come back to this, or I will give this copy to someone. Going to page 17, it goes back to referencing items from 2005. That's 19 years ago. This is very, very dated. Moving on, I'm looking at page 21, and we have community description, and we speak of the library in there, but we do not mention that it is currently undergoing a huge renovation. Perhaps you'd want to highlight that. That's on page 21. On page 23, we have more community description and natural features. What I find missing there is what is possibly our largest parcel of public land in the township, that being land on the Clinton River Spillway, controlled by the Clinton River Spillway Board, but we have nearly 70 acres of public land there, which almost 10% belongs to our township in the 6.38 acre parcel on Sheffield. I would think that you may want to highlight that valuable asset of our township in the community description, page 23. Going again to community description on page 25, we talk about watersheds and how the water moves and how it drains. Again, there is no mention that in our area, just north of the spillway, all of the drainage, all of the stormwater goes directly into the spillway. There is no mention of that. And the map included on page 25 is unreadable. Moving to page 27, again, we have a compilation of data from 2013 to 2017. Very obsolete. Page 29, Clinton River Spillway Path Steady Area. Again, we have a map that is totally unreadable in this document. You may want to update that. I move on to residential areas. And you make mention in this portion of the document about ordinance enforcement and effective ordinance enforcement. And you do not use the same verbiage here that you used when you were addressing the commercial and industrial portions of the township. I would admonish the board to have our ordinance enforced across the board in a fair, firm, and consistent yet caring manner through commercial and residential, that we have a very consistent enforcement. And it mentions in aggressive but sensible approaches. I can point out, and I have recently to our building department, of blighted areas that have went for years and years, and we do not seem to have the stamina to have this blight corrected. I pointed out one on Avery Street to the building department today. And that needs to be addressed. You have goals and actions on page 38 about ordinance amendments, and you talk about doing things, but you do not describe a remedy. You describe the problem, but you're not describing a remedy. You need to include the remedy in those descriptions. When I move on to the page 43, there you see the verbiage that mentions ordinance enforcement as it applies to commercial areas, and sensible but effective. And the definition of sensible and holding our industrial and commercial occupancies in the township to a high standard. We want high standards in our community. Going to page 49, again, we have a future land use. We have a map, again, that is unreadable. And I am finishing here very quickly, board, very quickly. We go into zoning, planning, and implementation, and we have these, there's something called complete street benefits. And they make a statement about this: decreased car traffic, reducing dependence on gasoline, petroleum products, and improved air quality. I think we need to take this a little further and include the dangers of lithium batteries and the EVs that contain these batteries, and how that they are a great hazard to occupancies. The fire departments can't put them out. They create a great hazard, and we need to address the issues caused by that. I thank the board for their attention, and if any of them would like Mr. Cannon's copy you gave me, I thank you very much for that. I thank you for your time, and I'm going to forward this to Mr. O'Leary. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. And we listened to you very carefully because you care a lot about our community. You had an opportunity, of course, to go to the Planning Commission and talk to them about it, but...
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was happening until the last meeting when you gave me your copy. I do appreciate it.
Well, luckily, you still have time.
Good.
That's why tonight is taking place.
We'll be there.
Okay. Thank you. Further comments?
Mr. Cannon, I did meet with the department about the plan and offered some corrections and some ideas.
And they liked that, too.
Yeah. One of the things that we talked about that didn't end up in the plan is we have a higher than average percentage of senior citizens who live in the township. We have residential neighborhoods with older homes. A lot of people have paid for their homes. So in some cases,
is that higher than average in the county and the state?
We were higher than, I believe, both the state and the county in terms of the number of senior citizens living in the area. And then we talk later about zoning, and what I'm sort of getting at is we have these threads woven through here that, to me, point to the issue of we want people to age in place, but sometimes they want to move into, people want to convert their garages to mother-in-law apartments. They want to put tiny houses in their backyards. They want to do things like that. And our zoning as it exists now does not allow for that. And our plan does not focus on that. But I do think it's something that we need to think about in the future. And maybe not in this plan, but in a future plan, really think about, it was part of what the Fair Housing Center wrote up too, in terms of changing some of our zoning ordinances to more allow for those kinds of multifamily, but not necessarily a duplex or a apartment sorts of things. I just think it's something that our community should look at in the future, and that I hope we can pull some of these threads that run through this plan together to look at that again the next time we do a plan.
Thank you. And you always have access to Mr. Thompson. Okay. Mr. Keys?
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. You know, and I thought we did give some good direction when we talked about this last time, and I'm disappointed that we haven't incorporated as much as what we talked about. And I think that we even talked about when we first got this, that this was really an attempt to copy and paste the previous plan, and I think that misses out on an opportunity to paint a more exciting vision for our community. This is a little more reminiscent of when I first got on this board and we found out there was no master plan, there was no DDA, that we had to start from scratch. We've already been there. We shouldn't be starting from scratch. We should be working every year to enhance this plan. And I think that just like we've talked about, we rushed our Parks and Rec master plan because we had to, and we had very little community input. I think both our master plans, our Parks and Rec and this overall master plan, needs a more professional approach that has the commitment to understand what residents in the community wants to see. We had a lot of conversation back and forth on if we even brought in a contractor last time to help with this. And again, I think that this is a plan we only get to do every 5 years. As Mr. Cannon talks about the budget, you know, a budget sets our priorities, but it's ever changing. Every meeting, we're constantly changing those priorities and where those dollars are going. We're stuck with this 5-year master plan. People will tell you all the time, oh, well, you can amend it, you can come back. But the truth is we never do. It's something that the state requires, that it gives the residents the confidence to know that we have a vision for the future of the community. And if we continue to copy and paste using statistics from 2010 and earlier, I think we're doing a disservice to ourselves to show the residents what our departments and what our board is willing to do to bring us to the future. So I'll be voting in favor of this because it's a requirement by the state. But I'm going to continue to push both in this plan and the Parks and Rec master plan to bring in professionals to enhance it and bring in professionals to allow us to engage the community and make that a priority, not a footnote.
Thank you.
Mr. Cannon, can I just clarify one thing?
Of course.
And when Mr. Duggar was up, he had mentioned the previous data from previous years. That information is in there to show trends. It's there to show trends in population, trends in housing, because you don't want to take a very short, small picture of a time and place when it comes to that information. You want a good spread of information so that you can then make better projections. And so I think that's as well kind of addresses Mr. Key's concerns. The Planning Commission had considered whether or not to hire a consultant to do this, but felt that the existing documentation had a good base and asked that the Planning Department do the changes in-house based on the comments. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Further comments?
Make a motion to approve and send to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Is there a second? Supported by Mrs. Patton. Roll call, please.
Treasurer Gilliam?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Trustee Matuzek?
Yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And item 12, summary of the Garfield Road sanitary sewer manhole emergency repairs and final budget.
So move.
You're not letting Dan do his
Is there a
job.
second?
Why, you can always read it after the motion. Yeah,
Support.
just figured I'd help out in case.
Well, and this is where, luckily, we found the problem and got it fixed in a timely fashion. Otherwise, we could have had a major problem. We had a problem. And those who drive down Garfield on a daily basis know where that problem was.
It's a long way.
But we're on the mend. Roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Trustee Matuzek?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Treasurer Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 13, request approval of the Metro Act right-of-way permit extension. And Mr. Dolan and Scott Chabot, we're going to ask you for input.
This, basically what's requested is an extension of the permit. This is a highly regulated area now, and we have basically shot clocks that we have to conform to, and the bases of these agreements are all set forth in the statute. So this is a renewal of the original permit that was, I believe, first approved back around 2005. We've had subsequent renewals. This is a request for another 5-year extension. I checked specifically with Mr. Chabot, who's here also to comment on it. And throughout the course of this last period of operation under the permit and the prior earlier periods of time, to my knowledge, we haven't had any problems with the utilization of the right-of-way that these facilities are in, or with the original installation of these facilities or any repairs and replacement.
And just to quickly add Mr. Dolan's explanation, at time to time, they do come in if there's additional lines they need to put in or things, they will do amendments to their routing map. So one of the things when we do the reviews for the utilities is to assure, is it in the existing routing map or is it something that needs to be amendment? And we've had a number of those, but this particular group or company has been cooperative throughout that process when those amendments are necessary.
Thank you.
I complain about this every time because I want more of a say, not me personally, but as a government, in what these companies are able to charge people after they use our right of way and our utility to provide internet and services. But I'm constantly learning. I even found, in 2006 is really when the current act that we're operating under was written, and there was a representative from Clinton Township on that committee in Lansing. So, I'm learning more about it, but I just wanted to continue to complain to my fellow board members when this item comes up.
Right.
Thank you.
I'd settle for better service.
There you go.
Is there a motion?
I'm not doing that.
So moved. For approval.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Treasurer Gillihan?
Yes.
Trustee Matuzek?
Yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And something that becomes more important to us every single year is the approval of the 2024 Stormwater Education Program contract extension with the Clinton River Watershed Council.
Members of the board, attached you will find a letter and invoice for the Charter Township of Clinton's 2024 Stormwater Education Program with the Clinton River Watershed Council. This request seeks approval of the $7,190 extension fee, which would extend the CRWC contract through September 20th, 2025 to fulfill the stormwater and water quality education requirements of our stormwater permit. We have partnered with CRWC for several years. This continued collaboration will ensure we are prepared for the renewal of our stormwater permit next year. Thank you for your consideration.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support?
They do great work, and
They do. Roll call, please.
Trustee Matuzek?
yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Treasurer Gillihan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 15, adoption and publication of ordinance 492.
Rather than read this, perhaps the best thing to do is to have Jack explain where we are with the process.
Mr. Dolan?
I'd prefer you read it.
I prefer not.
Turn it down.
I guess that means they need to be short on this, huh?
Yes.
Okay. We previously introduced and published on this ordinance. This ordinance modifies the process by which we act on transfers of Class C existing licenses. It doesn't affect quota licenses, and it's creating the opportunity for the board to appoint designee to handle that process. So it's intended to create some efficiencies by having an administrative approval through an appointed designee on these routine matters. I can keep talking if you guys.
No. Support.
I think we all know what it is.
So who made the
Any
motion?
comments or questions?
Mike?
Mr.
I made a
Keys.
motion, yes.
I supported it.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Keys,
Yes.
Trustee Patton,
Yes.
Trustee Matuzak,
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon,
Yes.
Trustee Kress,
Yes.
Treasurer Gilliam.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're at the point where we have public comment. We have 4
Mr.
public
Cannon?
comments.
Mr. Cannon, this is Kim Meltzer, in terms of clerk. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Hi, I want to ask a request. I did email all the board members the IACS, which is the Italian American Cultural Society's request for approval of their fireworks. It is in your email. If you could amend the agenda to address this issue tonight. The concern is that they did not, everything is in order, but their event is on the 14th and our next board meeting isn't until the 12th, and I don't think it gives them enough time. We could we could not address this, or you guys could not address this board meeting, but it would mean we'd have to host a special meeting. So I don't know, everything's in order. I got confirmation with our attorney Jack Dolan on the issue of the insurance, and also we could make it approval. You could make it approval contingent upon buildings and needs to weigh in on it. But you would have to amend the agenda also to include approving this agenda item.
Mr. Dolan?
Yes, this could be added as item 16 if it's the prerogative of the board to do that. We're still within the context of the meeting. This is an event that occurs every year, so there is some prior history to it, and I believe it's always operated without any problems historically.
That is correct. Mr. Keys?
Mr. Cannon, I am just confirming, I have the email we got from Ms. Meltzer at 6:55. This is the 2022 application. Do we have the updated application?
That is that is the application. The title is 22. The state has people pull those off of the website,
So this is the
but
right
it
one,
is
that's all.
it is okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cannon?
This
Yes.
one's signed from July.
Yeah, this is signed 7/7/2022.
Yeah.
Oh,
It even says
All right,
date
well-
proposed display
Hang on.
August 14th, 2022.
Mr. Gannon?
all right. I'm looking. The only other thing, go ahead, Jack.
No, I was going to mention that I did have an opportunity to review the proposed insurance that was submitted, and there was a correction that was required that they did take care of based on my conversation with Ms. Meltzer. So there has been some review of the documentation that's associated with this matter.
So you've seen the current application.
I've seen the insurance, the application form itself I didn't have, but I did review the insurance, and I believe that's, all the corrections required have been made, and we will make sure that you can, if you do want to do an approval, you can do it contingent upon any additional reviews being made by myself and the clerk.
And the other appropriate department heads.
Mr.
Right.
Cannon?
Yes, ma'am.
But even on the insurance, it says certificate of liability insurance, and that date is 7/19/2022.
I think Mr. Dolan said he saw the current.
Right, I think what's happened is the materials that you have before you, Ms. Patton, are not the materials that they're utilizing for this year. The insurance that they're providing is liability insurance for the event this year. And they did indicate we had to correct the additional insured provision so that it referred to the additional insurance being both primary and non-contributory.
So
Which
what
they
was that
took care
dated
of.
for?
Beg your pardon?
What date was that dated for?
August 14th is the event.
No, for the insurance.
Yeah,
For that date.
I don't have it with me, but it was the insurance for this year. I don't have the document in front of me because I didn't realize it was coming before us. But I do think we had the necessary items, and someone's approached the podium here.
Hi, I'm Angela Oberly. I'm representative for the Italian American Cultural Society. I do have the emails here. I'm not sure what pulled up, if that's an old packet from Zambelli, but the insurance I have on my email is from Razi Firework Company, and it is up to date, dated 2024. And I think that is what Kim received from that company.
And our attorney.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I'm forwarding it to the board as we speak, so you guys can take a look at that document. Hang on one second.
So, Mr. Kenyon, I'll make them.
I've been waiting patiently.
Okay.
So I'm confused. Last year, we approved something at this location that was supposed to be its last year because of houses being developed, and the fire department wrote a note last year saying this will be the last year this is allowed, and now this is in front of us again.
Yes, that is correct. The houses that were supposed to be built, I don't know if that was delayed, but we did get permission from Mosheri Development that we could do the fireworks there on that property
They
again
have
this
been
year.
delayed a little bit. The project has been delayed, the construction project.
Yeah, I got it. But one of the reasons this came up was because of residents in the neighborhood on the other side of the street were reporting stuff landing in their yard, and they were sort of not really happy with this. And the fire department was somewhat concerned, but said it could go last year. I want to make sure we have fire department sign off on this, but this makes me really nervous. It made me really nervous last year because this is a densely housing area. Even though these new houses haven't been built yet, there are still a lot of existing houses in this area.
Oh, yeah.
The fire department did not let us know that there were complaints of debris from the fireworks on properties. So I wasn't aware of that at all.
Do we have a sign off from the fire department for this year's
I believe
show?
so. Razi Fireworks was the one working with Kim. I'm not sure.
That's correct, yes, but I'm not sure if that took place where the fire went out and did their review. That I'm not aware of. We can make a contingent upon that happening and their approval.
Well, I think that's what we want, is we want to make sure it's safe. That's number one.
Right.
Mr. Gilliam, you have the floor.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if we have actually reached out to residents in the area to see, but I think we need to make, if we're going to continue to discuss this, we need to make a motion to amend the agenda for the purposes of discussing this item. So I'll make that motion.
Support.
Roll call, please.
So
Don't
that'll
go
be
away,
item
you're on the
16.
agenda now.
Item number 16.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Ms. Matuzak.
Yes.
Ms. Patton.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Kress.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We're just trying to get as much as we can.
Okay.
How come you didn't apply sooner?
Well, Zambelli is who we've used in the past, and they came back with a price that we just couldn't go with. They raised their price, I think, $3,000 or $4,000. So we were looking for other companies. We did find it. It was spring, but the company doing the paperwork was.
Okay.
Who conducts the cleanup on this afterwards? I know that we had the fireworks here at the township.
Yes.
And we had, as I came into work the next morning, we had the ground crew, and they were all over the place.
Yeah.
There was a street sweeper, there was the cardboard debris that's all over the place. And so, obviously that's a community event and.
Right, so this would be our 4th annual summer festival. In the past, we always used Zambelli, and Zambelli took care of all the cleanup, and it was done in the property that, there's nothing around in that property. Behind the pond that's behind the Cultural Society.
So who's doing it this time?
Razi is the name of it's a family-owned company, and it's called Razi, I believe.
And that's part of their bid, is they're gonna do the cleanup?
I believe so. I could find out for sure. I look at there.
Mr. Cannon.
We've never had any complaints about debris there. It's, Mosheris are letting us use that property, and they've never complained to us that there's debris left. They've approved us to come back every year.
Mrs. Patton, you have the floor.
I know there are some residents around there that have complained, though, about their part of their property with debris, which I know it's not being cleaned up by the company, so they're out there cleaning it up. But I really would like to hear the fire department's take on this, just because that's what they said last year.
Right, and I agree, the
And I
fire
really need
department
to
has
hear them.
always been a part of the process. I'm not sure if Razi sent them the proper forms. I'm not sure.
That's what I'd like to know,
You're-
more so hear about.
You're not going to hear from the fire department tonight.
No,
So-
but it has to be, okay.
Mr. Keys?
Thank you. And you know what? Obviously, there's a lot of different events. Some you rely on volunteers, other you have staff. So I hope you don't look at this as us trying to beat up on a great community event. When it's done safely and right. But I do just want you to know that like we have heard this for a couple of years. We have had residents come in and say that they want to see a more attention on these questions that we're asking. And quite honestly, just the process that we've gone through today doesn't give me a lot more confidence. I don't want to hold the event up. I don't want to have a special meeting to prolong anything. But I do want you to know that whoever you're communicating with at the township, if it's the clerk's office or whatever, I think you need to include the whole board, because it's time after time with the Italian Cultural Center, whether it's the tent going up, the fireworks, it's a very last minute rush thing where, we have paperwork from 2022. I just don't feel like we've been given, even you have been given a fair shake. And I don't necessarily want or appreciate, when we can bring up the vendor, we can talk about picking one over the other, but, just like our residents hold us accountable, we want to be able to hold you accountable. And so I hope that we can either make this contingent on a call, like these answers being, not only these questions being answered, but having them in writing and having them a part of this packet or available to trustees, I think is really important.
I agree with everything, but I live in the area, and no one's ever complained to me.
Well, Mrs. Cardamone and you had this conversation when she was on the board, so we can go back and
No.
there's certainly been the conversation.
She complained about the lights behind us that people walked around.
I am aware of complaints of the noise, but I have never been aware of complaints of debris. I know that the firing site is the same site we would use this year that we used in the past that was approved by the fire department. The distance away from the building and anything else, and that would be the same site and the same coordinates that we did give this firework company.
Who attends this event? What is it being held for? And is there a certain group that's saying, hey, I know it's the Italian American Cultural Society that's putting it on, but it's for whom?
It's a cultural event. It's called Ferragosto. It's an event that they celebrate in Italy that we wanted to celebrate here. It is always held around August 15th. We are doing it August 18th this year. It's a Sunday. It's just to bring the community together. It's a free event that we put on with music, and we end the night with fireworks.
So when you say free event, so the people who are invited to it are invited to come for free?
Right, there is no entrance fee. If you would like to purchase food or, refreshments, that is up to the people that come.
Okay.
So not just for members.
No, it's not just for members, it's for the entire community.
Mr. Chris, you have the floor.
Yeah. Just to let you know, you are a valued part of the community, and this last minute thing makes everybody uncomfortable.
I understand.
And I'm going to have to defer to the recommendation of our attorney, because there are liability issues. I think it's going to be a wonderful event. We want to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and it's a safe event. So I don't mind having a special meeting if we have to. I mean, it would be an additional meeting, but I want to make sure that everything's covered. So I'm going to have to defer to the attorney to get his recommendation.
Mr. Cannon, I believe Ms. Meltzer would like to say one more thing.
Mrs. Meltzer?
Well, I just want to say in defense of Angela Oberly and the Italian Cultural Center, the fact that I can't be a part of this board meeting has something to do with it as well. I was waiting for some last minute information, but it was in plenty of time to get on the, for me to post on the agenda. I've just been trying to manage things, trying to get home, and I missed this. So, we had been talking, and, Jack Dolan and I had been talking about this, and we were making sure everything was, taken care of. But I just haven't been back to the township to follow up with her to say, to ask those same questions that you're asking, the board is asking regarding fire department and all that. But I really think it's something we can resolve by taking the attorney's recommendation and making it contingent upon all of the other requirements of approval. And the other issue is that there's an election, and that's why the board meeting is moved up further. And so it made it more complicated for the petitioner as well. So I don't want you guys to think badly of this organization's timeliness on this matter. There's just been a series of unfortunate events, and with the election coming up, we moved the election further, past the normal weeks that we would normally have it. And so that moved things, kind of made things get delayed. So just wanted to say that. I think it's something that you guys still can approve of tonight if you wish.
Sir?
My name is Fred Neenstead. I live in Clinton Township, 41362 Justin Drive. I have the pleasure of watching the Civic fireworks every year from my backyard patio. I understand the concerns in safety, and surely the insurance is a very important part of that. It's a legal matter. But remember now, after July 4th, the very morning afterward the air was still on the night of the fireworks. There was a haze through the whole township. There was debris in every neighborhood. People had a great time. Why should we stop something that the state has approved long ago about public display of fireworks? A few residents may be inconvenienced with debris, but I do believe fireworks do not cause a fire hazard unless there is a dry condition. I believe everybody realizes we've had plenty of rain the last few months. So please, don't let the concerns of safety override the concerns of so many citizens who are going to have an enjoyable afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennan?
Yes.
Not in any way disparaging the Italian American Cultural Center, what you're trying to do here. If someone can, I don't know if Mr. Dolan is the person who can compose a motion that includes all the caveats, I would be happy to make that motion. But I want all the caveats in there.
That's what you alluded to also.
Yes, I would support that.
Mr. Gillihan, then we're going to go to Mr. Dolan.
All right. So make a motion for approval contingent upon, one, sign off by the fire department, two, the sign off by the township attorney based upon liability issues and all of the necessary.
Proper insurance.
Proper insurance. Three, presentation of a debris cleanup plan. I don't know if there's anything else that the board members want attached to that motion.
Well,
Ms. Matusik, you're the one who was going to make that motion.
I'm fine, but if somebody else has other things.
no, I was just going to say you probably can take off the insurance. Kim sent the updated ones for 2024.
Okay, but it still has to be reviewed by Mr. Dolan.
That's the one he said he reviewed.
Yeah, okay. Then it shouldn't be a problem to have it as part of the motion.
So is that
Did you want to support the motion?
Yes, I will support the motion.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're set.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Treasurer Gillihan?
Yes.
Trustee Tuzek?
Yes.
Trustee Keys?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Supervisor Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Kress?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Mr. Cannon, can we just clarify the event date? Because for the first half of the meeting, it was August 14th. Now I think we heard just from you, it's August 18th.
It is Sunday, August 18th.
Awesome, thank you
So
very
you're
much.
all welcome to come too, please.
Awesome, I'll be there.
Thank you. Dana, you have the floor first for public comment. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Dana Duggar again. As we continue in the saga of the changeover from GFL to priority waste, I have submitted some written questions, and I'll just reiterate them here. When is the next meeting of the Refuse Committee, and is it an open meeting? And number two, how is the requirement of inspection of trucks and equipment being carried out as is indicated in our ordinance, 1060.07, paragraph D? How, where, when is that being carried out that we are inspecting this equipment? And where can records of those inspections be viewed? And then moving on to other equipment, the requirement in that same ordinance requires that dumpsters be maintained as they were designed and approved in site plans. And if you go through the township, we have a lot of them that had nice closing fences around them and everything. Those are, the trash guy gets rid of those about the second dump, so you don't have to deal with them. But how do we plan, or how are we enforcing that requirement that dumpsters and their surroundings be maintained in accordance with the site plan that they were approved by? And that concludes it. I thank my board again. Have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen.
You too. Thank you. Then second is Fred.
Good evening, Board. Once again, Fred Neenstead, 41362 Justin Drive. At our last meeting, I commented about community standards in reference to an event in Warren that caused a public disturbance about morality. There has been ethics review in Warren that is wholly inadequate with their ordinance. They have been rejected by the district courts, and they want somehow to file the complaints from the citizenry and then ignore the subject completely thereafter. This is a valid complaint, and it should be considered by other communities in Macomb County. So what are the community standards when it comes to the pornography that was on display? How do we control the township and public events in such a way that it can be truly family friendly? So we don't want to have an approval plan by every organization that wishes to have a display of some type. It could be art, it could be almost anything. But there needs to be a moral standard. It comes to the board here to make that qualification as far as judgment of what is moral and what is immoral. My standard is not the one for the entire township. It comes back to the members of this board to decide. So is there a formal process? Is there actually a requirement by the board to stand up to this question of what should be proper in our community? I would hope that the board could respond to me in some way. I look forward to your response. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have Michelle Tucker.
For the last few weeks, I think it's been about 3 weeks now, we cannot get the recyclables picked up in Mission View condominiums. I've
Sorry,
called.
can you move the microphone down?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've had recyclables sitting out there for the last 3 weeks. And I've called Priority. They say they're going to send somebody out. It's going to be taken care of. I've called here. They apparently Priority, when you guys have called, they've said that it's been taken care of. It's not being taken care of. Okay? So that needs some, I don't know.
Ms. Tucker, would you mind giving me an address that I could
Oh, I'm sorry.
take back to someone?
35901 Fairmont Drive, Clinton Township, 48035.
I bet
Okay.
you'll get picked up now.
Huh?
I said, I bet it'll get picked up now.
Okay, good. The other thing was, I was kind of questioning is under construction over on Moravian where I'm living at now. And the property in my condominium backs up to Busan Drain there. They've taken quite a few trees out. I'm wondering if they're widening that bridge there. Are they adding more sewers in with this? How big of I don't know how big of a project this is. Granted, I know the road has needed to be repaved for quite some time, and I'm happy to see that happening. But I just thought I need to come here and find out a little bit more of what's going on. So if anybody has any ideas or...
We will be responding to you. We don't respond to
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
for being here.
But Fairmonte Drive is, what,
Mission View
Garfield?
condominiums.
Garfield off of between 15 and 16?
No,
Or
it's Moravian, just west of Utica Road.
just west of Utica? Okay.
Okay?
There is road construction. Okay.
There is.
Yeah.
And that's all
They're
good.
diligently working at it.
Okay, yeah.
Here we have Donna Wallace from the same area on Fairmonte. I should tell you that what we have found, of course, we have all been concerned about rubbish pickup and the length of time it's taken to change over to the new company and the type of equipment. But what we have found is some of the places that thought they were paying to have things picked up by the township contractor, they were paying for on their own. I don't know if that's your case or not, but somebody will be responding to both of you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Donna Wallace, 35947 Fairmonte Drive, Clinton Township, 48035. The garbage was normally picked up on Monday, or we'd put our trash out on Monday evening, and then on Tuesday, it would be taken away. Well, it doesn't get picked up, then we don't know when the regular garbage is being picked up. So we'd like to have clarification of when we should be putting our trash out too. And you came to one of our meetings, it was at the Fraser Library years ago, and I had asked about why our compost isn't picked up. And you had told us that that was part of the being a resident of Clinton Township. And we had, some of the people in our condominium complex had said, no, we've got to pay an extra fee and to have the compost taken. For years since you had informed us that it would be picked up, it has been. So we're happy about that, thank you. My other concern is I came here with my neighbor Sharon Lonsky several years ago, and we brought up the fact that the BP gas station has piles of tires up against their wall, and we were concerned about it being a site for rats to nest, and with the huge amount of rain we've had, that there would be mosquitoes that would live in the tires and cause a health issue. And I believe the BP gas station might be owned by someone new now, because they are stacking the tires up again, whereas after the meeting, they were putting them in a container that was on the site. So can that be investigated?
Of course it will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor,
With that, a motion is.
Supervisor
in order to
Cannon,
adjourn.
I believe Ms. Meltzer would like to make a public comment.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just want to remind the voters that during this presidential primary election, the ballot is specific to choosing only one side of the column of either Republican or Democrat. If you cross over your ballot It will be spoiled. If you think that you have spoiled or made a mistake, give us a call at the township, and we'll be happy to, issue you a new ballot. But this has become a big issue. It happens every time we have a primary election because the rules change. And so I certainly understand that it's difficult to recall this information. So I wanted to stress that again for those that may be listening to the meeting, and just remind you, if you do have any hesitation whatsoever or concerns, thinking that maybe you might have crossed over and voted both on the Republican and Democrat side, we will be happy to issue you a new ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. I know our clerk's office, as well as all of us, have tried to work very hard to make sure that everybody gets their vote counted, whether you agree or disagree with that person. So thank you for that, Mrs. Meltzer. And with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Ms. Matuzek? Oh, sorry, Ms. Patton.
It's okay. Yes.
Ms. Matuzek? Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Kress?
Yes.
Mr. Gillingham?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.